Oh, hey. I gotta order that Pro one. I gotta get that Pro Steelbook.
I didn't know Pearl had a Steelbook.
Yeah, that Walmart one. Wasn't that a Steelbook?
No, that I ordered that. It's just the exclusive slipcover.
Right?
Yeah, it's a slipcover. It's really awesome though. Like I love it.
Dude, how the hell was that a side movie that they like filmed in secret? Like,
well, it's actually the behind the scenes is crazy on Pearl because they wrote X and wrote Pearl before they even filmed X.
oh, okay.
It was like right before they filmed X, I believe. They said that Pearl got greenlit.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I know I've said this before. I loved X. It's like one of my favorite slashers, like in a while. But holy dude, Pearl is like Oscar level. Like,
yeah, I think so.
There's only really only 5 characters, like 5 main characters in it. But all the acting is like phenomenal in it. Like her mom's fucking amazing. Even the guy who plays her dad, who just like reacts. You know what I mean?
That guy was fucking great. That guy was.
Dude, that scene where she brings him to the pier and the alligator, and he's like freaking out and shit. Yeah, dude. But yeah, dude, amazing. Fucking probably my favorite horror flick of the year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Same. But yeah, so Chris, you're the intro guy.
My bad. Give me 1 second. I gotta put this away. All right. Welcome to the Film Section Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Corey.
Yeah. I'm Mark. What's up? Okay.
And that's Mark.
Yeah.
He's the one in glasses.
Yeah. The movie that we're talking about is your movie. That's why I wanted you to do the intro.
Yes. And well, I was just going through the intro, and today on this episode we're going to be talking about The Last Boy Scout, starring Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans.
Oh yeah, one of the best buddy action movies like of all time, I'd say. Definitely more of a cult classic, I would say, than like your typical like Lethal Weapon. And
I'm not necessarily sure like how big of a hit this movie was. I just know I couldn't wait. I mean, with this, I think it came out in like 1991, so I was like 10. So I clearly had to wait until it came to video, and then just go to the video store and annoy my mom, and then she just goes, "Get whatever you want. Shut up.
Just don't bother me." No, I mean it had frequent replays on HBO in the early 90s. That's how I initially. And I remember the first time seeing it, like the opening credits, I literally thought it was just like football, like coming on TV.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. I was like, because it does like an authentic job of that.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to dress up as that guy for the podcast. The Friday night's a great night for football. That guy. Holy shit!
We did a really great job ripping off the guy that did the Monday Night Football shit like way back in the 90s. I think it was like Hank Williams Jr. or something.
Yeah, it's basically
coming over tonight.
It's like Ted Nugent and Ted Nugent on steroids.
Yep.
No, again though, it's a movie that we quote very often. I think it's one of Bruce Willis's funnier movie, or one of his like funnier performances, like considering it's technically an action movie, but it kind of it's got a shitload of comedy in it.
His character is essentially just he's one-liners like at all times.
Yeah.
So I guess this movie opens with a pretty spot on Monday Night Football type opening, but it's, Friday night's a great night for football. And we open with Billy Blanks in the locker room.
Blanks, Mr. Tybo himself.
Yeah, Billy Blanks, and I believe it's the the guy that calls everybody by their full name in this movie. I
Oh,
think it was,
Milo.
yeah,
It's
and
so
uh, and he's basically telling him, "Hey, you got to make you got to make these points happen, or else." And he goes out on the football field and starts
blows his
shooting
own head
people
off.
in the face.
Yeah, well, he starts killing other players, and then he like just kind of takes his helmet off and is like, "Ain't life a bitch?" And then that's your cold open to this movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
again,
they take it right in.
this movie is very much a product of like the transition of the late '80s into the early '90s. I feel like
Yeah, this
because oh
like
no,
I
sorry,
said, this movie was made in '91, and I've always thought this way. Now that I'm older, um, I feel like every decade takes like 2 to 3 years to become its own decade. So
yeah,
like this
defined itself.
1991 area, movies were still kind of made '80s, like everything still felt '80s.
It's a very '80s movie for something that
Mhm.
came out in
Yeah,
1991. But
yeah,
that works to its benefit and its detriment.
for sure.
Again, this is like kind of in the same category as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie for me, where it's like I get like somebody from like who, didn't grow up in the '90s if they like were like, well, this is pretty dated. It's like, yeah, but it's like it was awesome at the time and it still holds up for what it is. Like,
Lost
for me at least. Uh, but
Chevy
yeah,
Hill.
but we're introduced to what's his name? Joe Holiday or
It's Joe Hallenbeck.
Hallenbeck. Okay, sorry, I haven't rewatched it and like this is
I
one I have the DVD. I just haven't watched it in forever.
I've
He's
I've seen it 100 times, so like if
yeah.
we're talking about it, I can pretty much get through it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can recite this entire movie, but where in his introduction is he's sleeping in his car and a bunch of kids pull a prank on him where they take a dead I think it's a dead squirrel
Yeah.
and they throw it in the tree and he like wakes up like freaking out and then waving his gun makes the one kid have one of the most high pitched screams I've ever seen in a movie.
Yo, Mark,
And he's,
how you feel? How you feeling 5 minutes into this movie?
he's like, "What did you guys do?"
Why did you guys make me watch this?
So, this movie, when it started, at first I was completely thrown off because I don't know why. I just I didn't expect it to start off with football. So I was like, Boy Scout. Okay, so is it like a detective movie about like football scouts? Like that's where my head went. And I was like, all right. And then it got to the football player. Scratch that. So first it was a football and like a football movie and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then it was shot very dark. Like
Yeah,
that rain, it was a straight up torrential downpour. And
yeah.
like it was so dark and everyone was just it was like silhouettes and like there was like this blue tint to everything. And I was like, all right, this seems a little dramatic, but all right. So then yeah, as you guys said, the football player goes and starts shooting people on the field and I'm like, it's one way to get the ball to where it has to go. And so
How do I
then
know he thought of it before?
yeah, I'm like, huh. I'm like I would start watching football if that's how it was.
Yeah.
So if like so then he kneels down, shoots himself, and I'm like, all right, it's interesting. And then a complete lighting change, tonal change,
Yeah.
everything change into the next scene with yeah, Bruce Willis in his car and they put the squirrel on him and he scares the kids and then the his friend calls and Bruce Willis says that he thinks he fucked a squirrel to death. And
oh man, I might have fucked the squirrel to death. I don't
Yeah.
know. He's just passive about it.
Well, so that brings me to my first point about this movie that I didn't understand is Bruce Willis is so passive, yet the faces he is making throughout this entire movie are ridiculous. His eyes are bugging out every like 2 seconds.
Dude, when he sees a squirrel.
Like he's freaking the fuck out. Like it's like, dude, what sort of drugs like
I don't think he has angry smoker energy. Or like that whole 80s, 90s cop like
yeah,
in
but
movies
he's
energy.
so
It's
chill.
It's weird how yes, it is weird how reserved he is with every line that he gives because
His
you can
wife is
like
cheating on him.
Well,
like he's
oh,
very but
that's
he's like
actually
very good at it. It's like I can
yeah.
tell this dude is being fucking passive, but you can feel the anger like fucking burning off of him.
He's
Yes,
he still retains like his sense of humor, and
he's
maybe
really funny,
that's
but
probably what really like keeps him he keeps his character like alive because his daughter hates him, like you said, his wife's cheating on him. He's barely like making ends meet, but that like his sense of humor is kind of what keeps
I
him
gotta
going.
ask a question. I mean, we're gonna get to it, but I gotta ask a question. Do you think if what happened to him happened to you, would it make you fucking act that way? Do you think you would just go down that hole? Like deep into a fucking hole?
I really don't know. Like because I mean the fact that he's also just like, do you want to tell me who's in the closet? And it's like, okay,
Oh,
but he's just so
forgot I was a
chill about it. And
detective.
then he's like, I'm gonna count to 3 before I shoot, and it's like, bro, like
And he's
what are
so
you
cool
doing?
about
Like what is this movie? And then as the movie progresses, I'm gonna jump around a little bit because holy fuck this movie.
No, yeah, honestly, like if you're watching this podcast, you had to have already seen it.
Yeah, if I mean, yeah.
Spoilers for everything, basically.
So then we see Holly Berry's character,
Yeah, whose name
and
is Corey. That's right.
and she's an exotic dancer, and
Her name's Court.
It was also like Corey.
um and she is sort of dating Damon Wayne's character. And I feel like Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis are in 2 completely separate movies.
Well, they notoriously didn't like get along like
Oh,
in
and
real
I can
Oh
life.
yeah,
feel that.
man. Like every time you see Bruce Willis in a scene by him, like with his family or by himself, it looks a certain way. And then when you see Damon Wayans by himself or with the like other people that are connected into his story by himself, it also looks very different.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
yeah, yeah. No, when you point that out, I notice it now.
just the movie is just, I think my 2 biggest, I guess, conflicts with the movie, because overall I like the movie. I think it has a very strange charm to it, but the
Yeah,
reason why it has a charm to it is because it is so off. Like the performances are so off. The editing is so choppy. The scene where Holly Berry's character is getting chased by the guys who are about to kill her,
yeah.
and like they hit her car. The editing in that scene made me want to just like crawl out of my skin. It was
Hey man,
so janky.
That's a Tony Scottism though too.
that's 1991. Tony Scott is
Yeah,
probably snorting a lot of coke.
So janky.
probably. Yeah.
And
Tony Scott is one of those directors, even in his later movies, like fucking like Deja Vu or Man on Fire, he makes some questionable editing choices. Like, you know what I mean?
well, it was like there's a strange cut to, so the car, like one car is chasing Holly Berry, and then they cut to like the back bumper of her car and the front bumper of the other guy's car, and you can clearly see where like the director said, all right, action, and the car just moved like a couple feet to bump into the back, and then they hit cut, because it literally is just like and then it just stays for like a couple of frames and then cuts back to the chase, and it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
And
I mean, Fast and the Furious, it was not.
no, it was not.
What do you
And
call? I mean,
I
that kind of works to its cheesy charm, though.
did not work
Uh,
for me. I was like,
I
what
mean,
the fuck is
yeah,
this?
but like still, like it's again a very much a product of its time. Uh,
Very much.
I mean, like you said, some of it's pretty choppy. Some of the lighting, like yeah, the opening scene, like you said earlier, is very like dark, but it has like a fucking like kind of noir, like kind of. I think that was like intentional. Sorry, I'm waving my
The
hand in the camera.
movie itself has a very noir kind of aesthetic to it, but that's what I'm saying though, is that the movie is like, it feels like Bruce Willis is in a
Different
quippy
movie.
detective noir. It feels like Damon Wayans is in like a comedy, like a buddy action comedy. It feels
Yeah.
like
Well,
Danielle Harris's character is in a family drama. Um, and it feels
Yeah.
like everything revolving around them doesn't really fucking matter.
yeah, I
No.
mean,
All that matters.
This is
All that
Damon
matters
Wayans.
is Bruce Willis
Uh,
and Damon Wayans, and
But they
they're
don't like each other. So it's like,
yeah,
it's
and
awkward to watch.
that's not awkward to watch. It's fucking great
no,
to
it's
watch
not. Yeah, I
because
disagree with that. They become
because they
towards
made this movie. They made this movie 100 times. It's the one where the two guys they don't get along, and then you know what's gonna happen by the end. They're gonna be best fucking friends. So like you going into it, you're just like, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I
yeah. I
think
mean, some
that's
of the
great.
and here's the thing, Damon Wayans like he's not like Jamie Foxx where he like transitioned from comedy into like
Definitely not.
into
Definitely.
like high quality acting. I mean, Jamie Foxx is like a much better actor, but Damon Wayans is like trying to kind of find a weird mix here between the comical shit and like the more serious beats of the movie.
Yeah,
Like
like it doesn't work.
I do like the scene where Bruce Willis catches him doing drugs in his house.
It
That
Oh
I
yeah,
that kind of solidifies their relationship for me, where he's like, "Yeah, dude, you used to be my hero when you played ball, but now you're bringing fucking drugs into my house. Get the fuck out of here!" Like,
I don't
you
know.
know, that,
It was just
it's fucking Jimmy Dix. Jimmy Dix, baby.
yeah.
it was yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of, I think tonally it was just so all over the place.
Oh, I agree with that. It is tonally all
Mark,
over the place, but I
this
think it
movie,
pulls it off.
Mark, this movie became an instant classic once that man asked him what he would rate his wife on the finger scale.
Yeah, the guy that looks like Barney Rubble cheating
And
with
then
his
he
wife.
tells him head or gut. Like he's like normal dudes catch their friends cheating or banging their wife, they're gonna fucking kill them. This dude's like, should I punch you in the face or punch you in the stomach?
Well,
Like,
Mark, you know what's funny though about bringing up Bruce Willis's introduction there with that scene is that Damon Wayne's introduction is also fucking batshit insane because his introduction is he passively stops a rape uh, with
yeah,
a football.
hey,
A guy.
hey, he said the bitch ain't coming up until she blows. All right, that's what
That's right. And oh, here's the thing too. Like Mark, you talk about like if you watch that scene, that talk about like choppy editing. It's clearly like someone throwing a ball. It's like chopped together so weird because the ball's like instantly like falling away from his face. It doesn't look like it made contact. It looks like there's like
yeah,
a reel missing.
yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
sort of see it, you sort of see it like cut, change a little bit of trajectory, and
Yeah.
then you don't then like and then it's like magic, it disappears and that guy's face has like blood all over it.
It's like the bullet that killed Kennedy, the one that
Yeah.
Well, also when you see the frame where the ball does kind of make contact, it hits the guy like up here.
yeah, but his
It hits
nose
him
is
in like the
broken.
forehead. It doesn't hit
Right,
him
right,
anywhere
right,
near this spot.
Best arm in the league, you fat piece of shit. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that guy randomly comes back later. He's like, "Hey man, you're not even supposed to be here."
he looks like henchman number 3 in a comedy with mobsters as the villains.
He looked like Robert Zadar minus the chin. You know what I
Like
mean?
like he looks like a guy where like the confident dude would be like, "Don't just sit there, get him." And he
Yeah.
gets up and he has like a big fucking sub in his hand. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, boss."
He looks like the prison rapist from that movie Fortress, and I think it might be the same actor. I'm not sure. The guy with 187 on his forehead.
Get the fuck out of here.
He's good at playing rapists.
So, I forgot how these guys. Oh, they fucking. Oh yeah, because Bruce Willis goes to the strip club because what doesn't she hire him as a PI or someone hires him?
Yeah, the
That
guy who his so-called best friend who was cheating,
Oh yeah,
with his
handed him
wife.
the case right
Yeah,
after
he gives him
punched
the
him in
job.
the face or whatever. They
She
like
comes
took
in.
care of business about him fucking his wife, and he was like, "All right, I got a case for you."
He's and again, this goes back to Bruce Willis's his very nonchalant attitude towards serious situations, and that scene with Holly Berry where she's like, "It's like, what are you, my father?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm your father. Now put your fucking clothes on." Like, he's like very
That
I,
all makes me laugh because of the way he delivers it.
No, like it's funny. Like that's what like. When I say like it's totally off, I don't. I said like there's a charm to it, and Bruce Willis
yeah,
is like the best part of this movie, and it's just because of how strange his performance is. Again, just the facial expressions, the cadence in his delivery, like his body language. It's like, I mean, he's clearly giving a performance. Like he is definitely acting, and he's like you can tell that he's putting effort into this role. Like he's not sleepwalking through it like a lot of other movies, but
Right.
it is. I'm just like, you are making some choices here, bud.
We
Like,
could say what we want about the editing, but this movie gets where it's going, and it gets there like
yeah,
efficiently.
I love the
Be
pace of
honest.
this movie. I fucking love the pace.
It goes like it
Yeah,
goes, and then you're like, "Oh shit, this is the end." Like you don't even feel like you really spent too much time watching a movie. You're just having fun, you know.
yeah. And that's the thing too. Like he's played 5 movies as the John McClane character.
Yeah,
Only three and a half of them I think were good. Uh, but like, but when you think about it though, like John McClane is always just kind of like this middle class badass who's down on his luck, and the way he plays Joe in this movie, he's kind of the same thing, only like he's even worse on his luck. You know what I mean? Like
I gotta,
he's very much like John McClane esque in this.
he's
I
like
got,
John McClane with alcoholism.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, okay. That's the best
I
way to
got a
put it.
secret. I don't really like Die Hard 2. Not gonna lie.
I don't
Oh,
really like any of the Die Hard movies except for the first one, to be completely honest with you.
not
You
even
don't like the one
not
with
even with
Samuel,
a
dude?
vengeance,
My favorite one is the one with Samuel L. Jackson. I
dude.
fucking
With a
love.
vengeance, man.
Hell
I
yeah,
don't
dude.
know. The Die Hard movies just never like. I like the first one. I think it's fun, but after that, I'm just sort of like, eh. I
I
don't
don't
know.
like
It
those.
gets kind
Whatever
of.
those newer ones were pretty ass. I didn't fuck
Yeah,
with it.
I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just like a period where I think a lot of like the '90s, like those kind of like action movies, just kind of like they wore a little thin just on me. I
Yeah.
understand there's like a big market for them, but for me, they just kind of were like
Yeah,
a
I get
dime a
that. I get
dozen
that.
sort of thing.
Hey, and you know what? Now they do the same thing. They just change the formula. Now the action movies they order in the theaters all look like John Wick.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, that
It's
has.
always some fucking super freak out for revenge.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
like not to
Some guy
fast forward
that
to like
like unwittingly or unknowingly to the audience knows fucking karate and was like a special ops officer. Like that is literally the action movie you
yeah.
get
Well,
now.
yeah. I mean,
It's not,
it's always a
but it's the
formula.
same stencil as the 80s and 90s. They found that one thing that worked, and then they just started putting like picking a guy that had some muscles or looked like a fucking tough guy, threw him in there, put him in the fucking impossible odds.
Well, like
That
if
formula. They just use the shit out of that, like
well, like if you notice, like
all the
in
way
like
into the
the like in like the kind of like the '70s and '80s, there was a lot of like political commentary. more like military commentary on a lot of those action movies. And then when you got into the 90s, it was a lot more of kind of like the gritty street action movies. And now when you get into like the 2010s and 2020s now, it's very much like revenge kind of action movies.
Yeah.
Or like revenge quests, or just like kind of
Well,
quests in general.
for a minute in between, it was like Born Identity type
Dude,
shit.
Yeah,
I
you had
was just
those like
about to say, dude,
espionage kind of
I don't like the Born Identity
espionage
movies.
or Taken.
Mission
like,
Impossible was another
Born
one,
Identity, Mission Impossible all those like government type shit where
Yeah.
work for a super secret government agency
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck, or you have amnesia but you don't remember that you work for top secret government agency and you're on a mission and you fucked up and now they're gonna kill you.
Well, dude, as an action movie fan, I'm not
Mission
gonna
Impossible
lie,
3, I
I'm
think.
not really a fan of those Born Identity movies.
Oh.
I think I like the first one.
I mean, they're not that they're bad, they're just not really my cup of tea in terms of like that you can tell they had impressive fight choreography, but just like the way they're edited. Like the first Batman Begins, the one with Christian Bale, the first one, dude, the fight scenes are fucking terrible in that because they fucking follow the same formula, just quick cutting. Taken does, like you mentioned Taken, that did a better job, but still, like, thank God, like John Wick became as popular as it did because like it did inspire like a lot of like better action movies, or at least better action scenes in movies.
Well, you
Believe it or
started
not,
getting
my favorite thing my favorite thing about Batman Begins is that they show him go train with Ra's al Ghul, like basically training to become Batman. Like
There's
that was
some like in all those movies.
for sure. I don't know. Batman Begins. That's like my favorite parts in that movie is when he's like training with Ra's al Ghul.
I remember
and then
smoking.
it's like the Batman. Like I fucking love that he's a fucking detective. Like it's
Well, dude, the fight
forever.
scenes. I think the fight scenes in the Batman are some of the best in the entire series. You know what I mean? Of any Batman media.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
dude, even the video games, even like Arkham Asylum, I think it steps up to that. Like the fight scenes in the Batman are fucking. I've heard some people complain like, "Oh man, Batman gets beat up a lot in this movie." It's like his first year of doing this.
Well, and he's just going head on. Like he doesn't like this is a Batman that doesn't care if he dies. So he's just going steadfast right into it, you know.
But it's realistic.
We're about to get the hero back, baby. He's like, the people love me, I love the people. Now we're about to get bats.
Oh yeah.
No, like, but I think it like did that perfectly because there's like a perfect amount of like, there's not, I wouldn't call it awkwardness, but like how a fucking like guy actually would take out like a group of guys in that. You know what I mean? Like, he takes some shots, but yeah, he's fucking going to because he's a human being. So at the end of the day, he's not like
there's a bit of realism to it.
So
like
I'm gonna hang up and then call you guys again. And then let's go to Chris. Do you remember what the topic was?
No. Our favorite fight scenes.
Favorite fight scenes. All right. Okay. So awesome. All right.
Friday night.
Never heard of a rhyme as perverted as mine. What?
Oh yeah, movies.
So yeah, we went a little off, but we were talking about
on this podcast. Nah, I don't believe that.
Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis are thrust together after they have a funny exchange that it's a line I will never forget when Bruce Willis or Damon Wayans says, "You couldn't protect a warm cup of piss." And then they gets real heated between them, and he smacks his glass, and he's like, "Oh, looks like I spilled my warm cup of piss."
Well, it's a very '90s scene too. Like the '90s, like you'd think like certain things would work in a fight that never would in a million years. He throws a swing at Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis catches his fist and squeezes it. I'm pretty sure Bruce Willis is smaller than Damon Wayans in real life. But he just like catches his fist, and the force of pushing him back makes him like fall over into like another table. And then, like you said, yeah, he's like, I protected my warm cup of piss. But no, like after Holly Berry's killed, or Corey,
Yeah, they're
they become
trying to thrust together.
yeah, and they're very Damon Wayans is very insistent on finding out why she was killed. And there's a the
Joe
scene where
Hal's
they're
like, chill, bro.
well, they're very like cold towards each, or Joe's very cold towards him in the beginning, but he's like, you can see Damon Wayans is trying to like get to know him a little bit. He's like, man, I'm just trying to break the ice. He's like, hey, I
Oh
like
yeah,
ice. Leave it the fuck alone.
like that's where that's where, but they do fill you in on why he acts that way towards him,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
his daughter ended up telling him like that Bruce Willis was our Damon Wayans was his favorite football player, and
Yeah, and
he
then
like
he got busted for drugs.
idolized him. And then what happened is that Damon Wayans' character was kicked out of the football league for point shaving or some shit like that, or betting on games, something like
Oh,
that.
and drugs too. Because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
he has that line. He's like, hey, at least I didn't piss away my career on coke or something.
Yeah.
To that effect.
So Bruce Willis's character lost all respect for the guy, and
Yeah,
respect for himself really, as we get down as we
well,
get
they
down.
warm.
Like his
They
wife's
warm.
cheating on him, and he's like, "Cool, bro. You want me to punch you in the face or punch you in the stomach?" Like,
The face of the
so
gut. Yeah.
uh, they, I mean, I don't know. I can't say reluctantly. Like they just it goes well together, because like they have to work together. It's not like, oh, we'll make this deal and then fuck off when we're done here. They like have to work together. They don't really say it, but it just happens. Like that was
It,
kind of,
it felt organic to me though. Like
yeah.
as much as they didn't like each other, you did kind of buy that they became like reluctant friends throughout all this.
Damon
Um,
Wayne did not really do a good job when he was doing the serious lines. He
yeah,
was
again, like Jamie Foxx, is not. You know what I mean?
no.
Uh, but what do you call it though? Like I don't know. There's some great like this isn't like Fast and the Furious type action, but it is like kind of subtle action that I think is really cool. There's a scene where Bruce Willis gets out of being executed by a guy who looks like a pimp in the back alleyway by using jokes to distract him.
Oh,
Uh,
about his wife being really fat.
his wife.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Has one of my favorite scenes in any like action comedy where the guy's like, "Hey, will you stop it with the white shit or the wife shit?" And then like a couple seconds later, he's like, "All right, how fat was she?" He's like,
he
her high school
like
photo was an
had
aerial. Her high school photo
he
was an
had
aerial view.
he had to hear it. He was like, "Yo,
Yeah,
this dude's pissing me off. But I gotta hear what the joke's gonna be."
it's like you have to cover her
He
in
needed to
flour
hear
to find
that.
her wet spot.
So,
Her high school
so
photo is an aerial shot.
we find out this murder is part of a larger scheme that includes the owner of the football team that Billy Blanks played for. Remember,
Yeah.
Billy Blanks from the beginning of the movie shot himself after shooting multiple others on a football field during a game. You find out the owner of the team is corrupt as shit, and
Also sounds like Foghorn Leghorn.
that his that Damon Wayne, Corey Halle Berry's character, um, was like hanging out or dating, hanging
She
out
was
with
trying
her.
to blackmail him into getting
Yeah,
his job with the NFL back.
yeah, she had information on him, and he just was like, "Fucking blast her, fuck it, she's gone, done." So they they eventually figure this out and go after them, and that's when we meet like two of my favorite characters in this movie, which is one is the Milo character, uh
Oh, yeah.
who insists on calling everyone by their full name when he speaks to them. And I thought that was actually a pretty good touch on the character. Like,
So it's crazy though. I've seen that guy in other movies before, but I've literally only ever seen him do comedy. and he did like a really fucking good job as like a menacing like villain in this movie.
He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, but like I've seen him in other stuff before, but it's always like goofy
Right.
shit.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
there's a sense of like goofiness to him in this, but like definitely comes off as like menacing as fuck. Like that scene where they're being pulled over by a cop or whatever, and he's like, it's like, hey, we have a problem here. He's like, yes, officer, there's too many bullets in this gun.
Yeah.
Like this is some of Shane Black's, I think's best writing, like in terms
Yeah.
of a fun movie, because when he knows how to make a movie like fun with like sharp dialogue and shit. But
Oh,
yeah, dude,
definitely.
what's his name? Branson Picote, or
What's that?
am I mistaking him for the not the guy, but like the name is Branson Picote the guy from like the Beverly Hills Cop movies? Because this guy has a weird name too.
Oh,
I mean, they both
the
have
guy
weird
that plays
names.
Milo, the guy that plays Milo is Taylor Negrin,
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I
and then
mean, Paul Taylor's not a weird name,
and
but
then then there's the guy later who gets his nose or gets killed by Bruce Willis
Tig.
because he keeps punching him in the face before he lights a cigarette. That is Kim Coates.
Yeah, man, Tig, Buffalo native, right?
He's Tig. He's in a lot of other shit too, but
Dude,
he's
he's in.
kind of like that guy. He's kind of like
Always
that guy.
plays this guy who's all fucking tense, motherfucker. Like that guy, yeah. Uh, but yeah, dude, like, I love that scene though, like where he's like offering him a cigarette and like punches him. He's like, "Do it again, I'll kill you." And then I love how he's so celebratory the second time he does it. He's like, "Boom, fuck yeah, I got him again!" Like, fucking, he's so fucking. I love that dude. That dude aged considerably well considering this movie came out over 30 years ago.
He looks pretty much the same.
Yeah, good for him, man. But yeah,
Uh,
I'd call him like an iconic character actor at this point. He was the coach from Goon, which is like my favorite hockey movie. So
dude, that movie's so fucking good.
yeah, for the first one, yeah, absolutely.
Kim Coates gives like that best speech on the bus, dude.
Hey,
So
cocksuckers. Bag skate pussies. Uh, but what do you call it though? Yeah, I mean, once we get to like the middle of the movie, he brings Damon Wayans home with him. You meet his daughter, who's fucking Danielle Harris at her brattiest. Holy shit, this kid is a fucking nightmare.
what a menace.
So
Yo,
she's
he
still
was like,
good. I mean, I'm not shitting on her. She's good in the movie, but
he said, the other day she left here with so much makeup around her eyes, I thought she was a raccoon.
Jesus Christ, I thought she was a robber. I almost shot her. Well, he makes like an off-color joke, like she's like, yeah, the boys were making fun of her or whatever. It's always like, oh god, she'll be blowing them in 6 years or 4 years
Dude,
or something.
he
And I
bordered,
remember seeing that. It's like, oh damn, dude.
he rides that fine line between like, you know, being funny and then being William Forsythe and fucking
Yeah,
Halloween.
there's a little William Forsythe in there. There's a little bit of him who wants to crawl across the floor and
I
skull
mean,
fuck you.
this dude literally said out loud, "She'll be blowing guys in 6 months." Like that's your
Yeah,
daughter, sir.
it's like Jesus Christ, yeah. And this is again, Danielle Harris is good, I think, but her character is like, holy shit, dude. I would be a fucking unemployed
You know,
alcoholic if you were my
whoever,
daughter.
whoever the other funny part is when he kills those guys when he fucking has the puppet on his hand.
Oh yeah. That's a really funny scene though. He's like
That being fucking
he's like,
hilarious.
why did Mr. Milo cross the road? He had his dick in a chicken. It's like coughing with it too. He's like, where'd this guy get his suit? Gangsters or us? Like,
Mark, were there stuff that you liked in this movie? Oh no, he just long fucking breath.
Mark
This
just
is
turns
gonna
his
be great.
camera off.
I don't know. I mean,
Mark's like, I'm fucking out of here.
I'm gonna be
Mark's like,
honest. This is a movie that, all in all, like I see the charm. I understand why you guys like it. It's probably not a movie that I will be watching again. It was just it was just too tonally all over the place for me. And honestly, that editing was just it was not working for me.
It's not your cup of tea.
Yeah,
I mean,
I totally understand why you guys love it. It definitely does not shock me that you guys love it. Um, like you guys have the talk and schlock connection. This movie is definitely like your guys' type of movie. Um, but this movie, yeah, this movie for me was just it's a movie that I'm glad that I watched for sure. But yeah, I probably will not be revisiting this one.
I get
Um,
that.
Talking schlock connection. I swear we'll be back. Uh,
We'll
we
return
have, we have some
someday.
we have some Robert Russler appreciation that we need to dish out.
That is true. Robert Russell. Oh shit, dude! I still have the notes from watching Vamp. That movie kind
Fantastic,
of holds up. I think that movie's still fun.
fantastic because I'm gonna watch it again. It's on Tubi, I think.
um,
Okay,
so
I still have the Anchor Bay DVD.
I think this movie is a fucking passable action movie from the '90s. It's just more. It's memorable to me for fucking just Bruce Willis, I guess,
Me,
because
me and
fuck,
Chris, me and
he
Chris
was
are
just
very
saying
nostalgic
fucking
about this movie.
he was saying line after line. It's Bruce Willis, man. I fuck and it's just '90s. It's so fucking like
I would say this too.
'80s, '90s, dude, and I love it.
It's fun when Bruce Willis was on the ball. He was fun as fuck to watch in movies.
Oh
When
yeah,
he's at
fucking
his
killer.
fun. I think he's just as fun in this as he's been in any of like the good Die Hard movies. Um, and again, like yeah, Damon Wayans, he's kind of hit or miss. There's some. It has a pretty generic plot, but
Yeah,
still, it's the writing. I think the Shane Black style definitely suits this kind of movie.
right.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I get it. If it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but me and Chris are gonna be quoting this movie till we're dead. So
yeah, which I mean, again, is totally fine. Again, I totally understand why people love this movie, and there is a lot to like. Bruce Willis being the main takeaway for me is definitely Bruce Willis and just how just it's a performance that I haven't seen, and it was really good to see Bruce Willis in a role in a movie that I haven't seen, where he's like, you can tell that he's giving it his all, even though it's a little weird. He's
Yeah,
definitely putting his effort in, and so that for me, as someone who is a big Bruce Willis fan, and
he's not asleep at the wheel like he used
yeah,
to. Unfortunately, he's been asleep at the wheel for years because of a very like serious medical condition. So
yeah, but yeah,
yeah,
it's just not my cup of tea.
good good product. I mean, yeah, it's especially like if you're into early 90s movies, like this movie looks like it was shot on the same set of like or it could have like been shot on the similar set to like Predator 2. It has like a very 91, 92 like aesthetic to it. Felt
yeah.
like
Um, so I mean, there weren't really fight scenes per se in this movie,
yeah,
but there were a lot of action and explosions. It was one of those kind of movies.
great
But
chase scene. Yeah.
I think it's still our topic still kind of falls in line with the movie we discussed, and we're gonna talk about our favorite fight scenes in movies.
Okay.
So
Did,
who wants to
can
go first? Who wants to go first? Doesn't
I'll go
matter.
first. Actually, I
Okay.
have one. I was originally gonna say or mention the first the Raid Redemption, but oddly enough, I like the sequel a little bit more because
Yeah.
the sequel has like a strong has a definitely a more complicated plot to it. But dude, the fight scenes in the Raid 2, like there's just as I not saying discounting the first one at all. They're amazing in that movie, especially the final one. That's like an epic one where Mad Dog is fighting the two brothers.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is one I was gonna bring up was from the first raid where it's the end, like basically almost the end of the movie. Like it, yeah, he's fighting both the cops, and it's that
Oh, dude,
fucking long-haired fucking old Chinese dude. Dude, that is probably the best fight scene I've ever seen in my fucking entire life.
well, dude, it's epic. It's a good. I get emotional while watching that fight scene. That's how you know
Yeah,
it's a great fucking fight scene. it has like emotion to it. It's like has a fucking like amazing score behind it. Uh,
Hmm.
with the raid 2 though, there's two fight scenes in particular. Throughout the raid 2, there's these two like kind of background henchmen known as Bat Boy and Hammer Girl or Lady Hammer.
Hmm.
And throughout the whole movie, you think like, oh, he's maybe gonna fight like one or two, fight them like separately or whatever. No, it's a fight scene in a very like narrow hallway between both of them, and it's fucking like spectacular. It's such a good fucking fight scene. Like it's intense. It's brutal as fuck. He ends up like slitting her throat with the jagged end of the hammer, and he ends up hitting the guy so hard in the face with his own bat that they don't necessarily like show it explicitly, but they show it from a long shot that the baseball bat is literally implanted in his head. And then right after that, he fights a room full of guys, and then like the head cook, so to
Yeah,
speak. Another great fight scene. Like I think that's you can argue all day like which fight scenes are better, the first or second one, but I think
sure.
it's definitely gone down kind of underrated. I think.
Hell yeah.
You know,
Um,
second one.
Mark.
So a fight scene that I actually want to talk about is it's from a show. It was the last episode of season 1 of The Punisher, where John Bernthal and the I can't remember his actual name, the guy who eventually becomes Jigsaw, um, their fight at the merry-go-round or at the carousel, like, oof, is brutal. And just the one scene in particular where John Bernthal scrapes the dude's face against the broken mirror, just
Oh
the
my God.
scream he lets out, the fact
Yeah.
that I cringe, but it's like,
Oh, it's just desserts though to that
oh
character.
yeah, oh it is, it's the perfect payoff. It is, I mean, I hate what the logo of Punisher has become and turned into because it fucking sucks because the Punisher is an awesome comic book character, and the fact that he's been like co-opted by a bunch of fucking racist pieces of shit is terrible. But
Yo, that's prime example number one that these motherfuckers do not research anything.
yeah, like they just like the skull and it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. But it's like, no, this dude fucking hates cops. Like, fuck
Remember the Punisher? Remember the Punisher? He only beat up gays and blacks.
literally
Well,
never does that.
but no, like
Exactly.
John Barenthal, like he brought something to that character. I
Oh,
mean,
John,
I
perfect.
am a fan of like even back to the Dolph Lundgren one. Not
Dude,
not a
I
great
even
one,
like the
but
first one.
easy fun.
I even like the John Travolta Punisher. But
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah, it's fun.
yo, I
I
don't
there's
like.
no Punisher I hate.
There's stuff in that movie I like. I think
but
I I think maybe I didn't like John Travolta being in it. I think it really might be it because that's
um
if we're
Oh yeah,
talking about fight scene. If we're talking about fight scenes, that scene where he fights fucking Kevin Nash or the
dude,
Russian.
that
Sorry, Kevin
yeah,
yeah,
Nash.
it's a
I'm a
great
big
scene.
wrestling
that's
fan.
fucking great. Yeah.
Great
That
scene.
scene. That scene is that fight scene is very good.
Hmm.
Like
And then
the
if we're on
only
the subject, and if we're on the subject of Marvel or the Marvel shows, we need to talk about Daredevil fighting those people in the hallway.
Dude,
Um,
all the one takes, all those fucking one
yeah,
takes.
Punisher,
it has multiple ones. Speaking
that
going
Yeah.
back to the Punisher, the
Punisher come
episode.
Punisher getting out of jail or whatever when he's in fucking jail, just
Yeah.
Oh,
walking down
So
that
dude, when
fucking
he
hall,
kills like
walking
badass.
the
down the
entire
corridor,
dude, he
bro.
kills the entire cell block. Yeah,
Yo,
Insane.
because Kingpin.
Kingpin, the final battle between Kingpin and Daredevil, and the one and Naughty. This was a verbal fight when when he came to see him in prison and
Oh
fucking they
yeah.
had that back and forth, dude. That was oh my
Yeah.
god.
So good,
That's
so
why
good.
that's why I'm really happy that show is coming back
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
because she's dude, that show is perfect. I fucking love Daredevil,
It
dude.
Dude,
was great.
Daredevil is my
That show
favorite
is
It was
so
superhero
good.
definitely the
show of all
best.
fucking time. Dude, it's the best. It's an
It
A
was.
plus every
Yeah.
fucking season. But dude, the an underrated one though from that is when Frank's like essentially like interrogating Daredevil on a rooftop when he's chained up. It ends up
It's a great
Daredevil
scene.
he has like a gun
Oh
duct taped to
yeah.
his hand, and
Yeah.
they scuffle. Frank gets knocked out. The Punisher gets knocked out, but there's a bunch of bikers like infiltrating the building and going up the stairs, and it's another one of those great one shots of like him going down this like staircase and beating the shit out of everybody while trying to keep Frank's unconscious corpse like
Yeah.
safe. And there's a great it has one of my best shots or one of my favorite images from any like or from that whole series where he still has the gun taped to his hand that Frank gave him that he said like, all right, you got to kill this guy or I'm not gonna, he's like, you
Yeah.
have no option. But he fires the gun like in their direction and it clicks. And like Daredevil, Matt Murdock's face just goes like, he just like smirks for a second. He's like that asshole.
Yeah.
So
No,
good. I
it's
love that.
great.
Um,
I mean, Charlie Cox and John Bernthal, like, you could not have gotten better casting. They are Matt Murdock and Frank Castle. Like, they just are.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't
Corey,
think there's a Punisher movie. I don't think there's a Punisher movie that I hate.
No,
Warzone fucking amazing.
it's fun. It's a lot of
one
fun.
one thing I don't like about the Punisher series is Warzone. That's how Jigsaw is supposed to look.
Yeah, they
But
didn't
in the
really
second season,
star up his face
dude,
too much.
but dude, it's like you said, he drags his fucking face across a broken mirror. His
Yeah.
face should not even be there anymore, but he just looks like a hot guy with a couple scratches on his face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that was season 2 was definitely not as good as season 1.
No.
No, I mean, I liked it for what
It was still good.
but
Oh,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it
not
was still great. But season 1 was just like chef's kiss, perfect.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I love the micro character too.
yeah. Oh, he was so great. The whole and I didn't in season 2. I didn't really like the bullseye stuff that they were doing. I thought that was kind of eh. Um, but yeah. Anyways,
They
back
were
to action scenes.
they were doing it perfect. They were literally like about to combine both those shows. They were
Mhm.
about to cross paths like for real because fucking Bullseye's like Daredevil's fucking guy
Yeah.
because he kills Elektra.
Well, I like
And
that they made Bullseye a complete psychopath though.
oh,
Yeah.
He's
he is.
stalking this girl.
He is.
He becomes completely unhinged by the
Yeah,
end. Like he's
yeah.
driving like to Kingpin's wedding with her corpse when he finds out that he killed her. It's like, have I introduced you to her yet?
Um,
uh,
while we're still on the topic of Marvel, I do just want to say another scene really quickly.
Oh yeah.
Is I mean the Spider-Man Green Goblin fight in No Way Home in the apartment complex. Like, talk about just emotion,
Ooh,
tension.
yeah.
Willem Dafoe's acting, like Tom Holland is finally throwing punches, like, and he's, they're throwing each other through walls and through floors, like, come on.
It hit me right here though when Tobey Maguire stops him from delivering the
Oh, from
death
killing
blow.
him in the
He
end,
just
yeah.
stops him. He doesn't say a word. He's just like, come
Bro,
on, man, you can't come back from this.
the thing that stands out to me in that movie is Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Andrew Garfield
he's like
after
the heart of that movie.
after
Oh, yeah.
those two movies that he did, and I'm not saying either of them are very bad. I feel like they're just real pedestrian Spider-Man movies. And the problem is that they fucking make Amazing Spider-Man and are like, hey, we need to spend some of this movie doing the origin over again. Like,
Yeah.
no, we know we've seen it once.
Yeah.
Dude, it's Spider-Man. Like, if you don't know how Spider-Man became Spider-Man, then what? You're not a citizen of the
Earth.
world.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
you're not from Earth. Yeah, I
Um,
took a long time to get there, but Andrew Garfield fucking redeemed himself as a worthy Spider-Man.
oh, he was amazing.
He was so good, dude.
He was so good.
Unbelievable.
And honestly, my favorite scene from No Way Home isn't even a fight scene. It's the scene where they're all in like the chemistry lab and working together. Like, that is my favorite scene of the whole movie. I love
He's
everything.
like, what the hell are web shooters?
Oh my god, yeah, when he
Like how do you web slink?
does that, and then even like there's like the small scene where they're making all like the little antidotes and stuff, and they come to Norman Osborn, and obviously this is right after he had killed Aunt May. And so Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is like, I've been thinking about like how I'm gonna save Norman for like a long time. And you just see this look on Tom Holland's face like, I wanna kill this guy. And
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire just looks at him like, we gotta save them all, right? And it's just sort of like you feel this like you really feel like a brotherly bond between the three, because
Yeah.
then later when Tobey Maguire is talking to Andrew Garfield's character about like how he made it work with Mary Jane and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
it was just, oh my god, just the chemistry between the three of them. Like I could watch a whole movie of that chemistry lab scene.
That's why it's the best. I mean, I love Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I think it's undoubtedly like the best. And it has a lot of love for like the best parts of like all of these movies.
it's the
Like
most
it brings back,
satisfying.
No,
yes, and
yeah.
Doc, like I love what they did with Doc Ock in it. They didn't just bring him back as a villain, but they brought him back as like
Oh, his
Otto
turn was
Octavius, like
amazing. I loved his
as a
turn. Yeah.
human. You know,
They
that
they
scene where he's
redeemed
like
The
they
because
best.
he's
redeemed Electro, which was
oh
really
yeah.
cool.
Electro
Yeah,
Electro
yeah,
was just fun, which he should have been in the Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Yeah,
but he wasn't. I
yeah,
don't
like he's
know.
a goofy villain in the comics. Like make him a goofy villain in the movies. You know?
You see, you
Yeah.
see those little tweaks. You see those little tweaks when they fucking like Sony lets them use the characters. Like they make tweet like it's not a script from Sony. It's fucking the MCU.
Yeah,
And you
Yeah.
just see those little things whenever they let characters in. You just see those little things, or like things you thought were wrong with characters that were made by other studios.
hmm
Like they get the rights to those characters, and you're like, yeah, that's how you should. That is how you
Yeah.
do it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
Unless you're Logan, you can't fuck with Logan.
no, Logan is
Yeah,
so cool.
Logan's the Citizen Kane of
Comic book
superhero
movies.
movies.
I
Love me
mean,
some Logan, boy.
it's definitely close. I don't think I will say I think the Batman has overtaken the top spot as my favorite comic book movie.
Well,
Um,
comics in general, like you can, I mean, I'm speaking from Marvel,
Marvel, I'm trying to think. I mean,
or
probably Logan.
Marvel properties, not necessarily the MCU.
Yeah, I mean
I think
probably Logan. I would be it's definitely between Logan and Spider-Man 2 because well no, I'm sorry. It's definitely between Logan and Into the Spider-Verse.
yeah,
Mm.
Cuz Into the
Into the
Spider-Verse
Spider-Verse,
is
man,
just, I mean, talk about a perfect movie. Like,
it's perfect, and it's crazy how because you could genuinely take your kids to see that one,
yeah,
and there's not a lot of like adult humor, but there is a lot of like
it's just
just
great.
pure like heart to
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Like that
Um,
movie gets you fucking pumped when you watch it.
all
It
right.
makes you like proud to be a comic book fan.
Yeah, so we're already running out of time. So let's do one more action scene each.
Um, Here I'll go. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. I only saw it because it appeared on Netflix, but it's a Korean movie called The Darkness Comes for Us or The Night Comes for Us.
The night come through us. Yeah,
Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Dude, that action, I mean the plot's somewhat generic, but holy fucking
Are
shit.
you gonna
Those
Are you
fights.
gonna talk about that scene where all those people go into the apartment building after them?
Dude, I mean that's one of them, but it has the ending fight between the
Oh
guy who
yeah,
played Sub-Zero, the guy well, it's between the guy who played the lead in the first two Raid movies.
yep,
He's technically like a villain because
yeah,
he
yeah.
betrayed the guy who played Sub Zero. And I apologize. I swear to God, I would butcher these guys' names if I tried to pronounce them. But the fight scene between them at the end, it goes on for about 15 minutes. It is one of the most brutal fucking fight scenes, and it ends with they both have it has like the best end, like most brutal end to a fight scene where our lead protagonist he doesn't have a knife or whatever, but the guy from the raid who plays the main villain in this, he has a box cutter that he has out, and the fight ends where like they end in this pose, and the screen goes around, and you find out he caught the box cutter in his mouth, and he went through the cheek, and they're both like struggling, like and like the dude fucking bites through the box cutter, takes out the blade out of his face, and stabs him in the neck with it. So fucking like in the fight choreography itself, it's not just all brutality; it's fucking like amazing.
Hell,
So yeah,
man,
that's
that's a great fucking movie too.
yeah, very very action driven. Like plot, there's a plot
Oh
there,
yeah,
but that's not why you're watching the
there,
movie.
yeah. There's a plot, but you're paying admission for something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Oh,
that yeah, dude. So anybody who hasn't seen that, absolutely check it out if you're looking for something on par with like both the Raid movies or the John Wick movies. Uh, yeah, that's my second choice here.
well, I guess I'm gonna go with uh I think it's The Protector 2, the Tony Jaa movie.
Oh,
Um I know
it,
there's two of them. It's whatever. I
is it,
think it's the first one, and the guy he fights like Nathan Jones. If you
dude?
remember,
That's the
and
that's the first Protector.
yeah, and he like fucking pulls both those elephant tusks and like beats the shit out of him with elephant tusks. Like
But
that
that's
shit
like that's a heartbreaking scene too, because like
very
the
much.
whole movie he traveled to the States in order to find this elephant that was taken by poachers that he basically helped raise.
Yeah,
And you find out in the very last fight scene that the elephant's been killed and turned into like basically like a trophy statue, and he's
yep,
like crying or whatever. And he before he fights Nathan Jones, he beats the shit out of a room full of guys. Not only beats the shit out of them, but breaks every single one of their like appendages. Like it's like the whole reason that movie's rated R is because of that like scene basically. Because every time
yeah,
he like catches somebody, he'll like snap their leg and then move on. And then there's that great shot where he's walking away and they're all like laying on the ground, like moaning and shit with like distorted limbs. And that's cool
yeah.
though too because Nathan Jones beats the shit out of him when they first encounter each other. But when
Oh
he
yeah,
sees like when he sees the dead elephant, he literally there's a scene he literally like runs up knee first to Nathan Jones and takes his fucking like head off basically with a double knee.
hell yeah,
But yeah, dude,
Mark.
that's The Protector is a fucking great movie.
Hell yeah, Mark. You got another one? One better?
Yeah, so the last action scene that I want to talk about, just really quick, is just
Yeah.
the fucking fanny pack scene in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that entire fight scene needs to get love and praise, and that movie needs all the love and praise. That is still my favorite movie of the year. That is probably like honestly probably my favorite movie of like the last like 10 years. That movie is just amazing.
Need it needs at least, I mean, it needs a lot of awards, but the fight choreography in that movie needs an award.
Yeah, like oh my god, just amazing. But yeah, so we are only down to the last 5 minutes. So
Okay.
yeah, so thank you to again anyone and everyone that watches this podcast. We only have 2 episodes left of this season, and then we're gonna go on our little hiatus like we do. Corey and Chris are gonna start back up the Talk and Schlock connection. I've got
Absolutely.
a show. I've got like a new little show in the works that'll be on this channel coming soon. Super excited for that.
Oh
And
yeah.
next week's episode is Corey's pick, which is Dread.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that
Mr.
again.
Mr. Carl Urban himself.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a really fun one.
I need to watch that again. Definitely.
Yeah,
I
I've only seen that movie once, and it was years
Same.
ago. So
Same.
Funny
That's
we
what
funny we mentioned the raid so much. It has a very very similar plot to that movie.
yeah, and it's just trippy as fuck too.
yeah.
Um,
It's kind of.
Visually, it's fucking awesome.
I think I
love that
saw it
movie.
when it first like came out, like home video wise or whatever. Like that's the last time I saw it. So it's been what, like that movie came out in, like 2013.
Yeah, yeah, to like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
It
So I'd
it's one
say
of
so.
those
I
movies.
haven't
It,
really
it
seen
didn't
it.
do well when it came out,
no,
but
it
like
did
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I
Um,
haven't. Yeah, I haven't watched that since it came out. So like 8 years. I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again. I know it was good.
Yeah.
I get no.
Funny, it's a big budget movie, but I get like HBO movie vibes from it. Like every time I
Yep,
watch
yep.
it,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's got that kind of look to it.
So
Right.
yeah.
Love us.
Yeah,
Love
yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at the film section, twitter.com/the film section. No one's gonna do it anyways, but I'm gonna say it anyways. So
We gotta say it every time. So
Yeah.
y'all do.
yeah.
And then
See
we'll
you guys
stop.
next week.